Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 4 of the class. Hope everybody's doing well. Only 2 more weeks of dealing with me. Let's get going, shall we? We're looking at PS 106, Introduction to Special Education. Session 4 is going to be 3/5/2025. It's going to be 3/6/2025. I'm going to need to change that. Classroom maintenance, effective communication, staff, parents, IEP team members, part 2, behavior is what we are talking about today. And a lot of talk about parents in regards to this. We'll have a video about Brian Gumble here and showing how some parents are working with their students with special needs. We will show that in class. Usual stuff here, some session objectives, guiding question. What are the components of essential communication and collaboration in special education? Communication and collaboration is one of the key components about special education. It's the top key, in my opinion, in regards to the work we do. What is a behavior support plan and what is a manifestation determination? Quick quote there. Who attends the IEP meeting? So, the reason why we're bringing this up is because number one is the parent. The parent has a lot of power in an IEP meeting, and they should be involved. Also, is the general education teacher, a special education teacher and or provider, the LEA agency's representative, so some administrator, possibly a principal or a vice principal. For myself, working for Sonoma County Office of Education, I have a director, things like that. And then an individual who can interpret the instructional implications of assessment results. This individual may be the general education teacher, the special education teacher, the LEA representative, or an individual invited by the parent or LEA who has knowledge or special expertise regarding the students. So you could have like school nurses, occupational therapists, counselors, speech pathologists, things of that nature, people of that nature who come and participate in the IEP. And here's the reference link of the school code covering this. A quick definition of collaboration. Collaboration is an interpersonal style that professionals often use in their interactions with colleagues, parents, and others. It can only exist voluntarily in situations in which individuals with parity have identified a mutual goal and are willing to share responsibilities, resources, and accountability. So we're going to do a warm-up. For this first warm-up, we're going to do breakout groups, and people are going to make a quick little one-slide presentation for me here today. So your experience working in an educational setting, a care team meeting, a 504 plan, an IEP collaboration should be valued and encouraged. So we're doing a big focus on meetings today. And the following website that I'm going to offer here has a bunch of great resources for these types of meetings. We will do breakout groups to review these articles. So we have something like 10 interns in this class. So we'll break out into groups of 2. And what you're going to do is you're going to go to this website for inclusion resources. And it's got a bunch of different articles here. You have one here about assistive technology. You have a thing here about debunking the myths of inclusion. You have things about paraeducators, things about special education terminology, major federal laws affecting special education. And as you peruse this, you are going to find stuff in regards to the roles of admin, inclusion, things like that. There are articles in here in regards to meetings themselves. I think they're a little further back. Let's go check out 13 here. Poverty in public school, device learners in the classroom, inclusion basics, effective plans for improving student achievement. So there's just a bunch of great articles here for people to peruse. School climate, family involvement. Here's a big one here. But what I'm going to do is in these breakout groups, I'm going to ask everybody to choose one article, read it, get some perspective for about 5 minutes, then bring it back into the class and share out. and give a quick slide and maybe talk about some of the key pieces about your article. Nothing too crazy. This is a warm-up. We're looking at some articles. And I put down what were some of the good and or bad characteristics of collaborative meetings. Because now many of these articles are going to have good things, but there might be some that add some bad things that could happen in the course of a meeting. What could that be? So just some things to think about while we do this. Special education collaboration. The idea has, in essence, made collaboration a required part of special education services. Again, idea being the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. Collaboration is either specifically mandated or strongly implied in the entire process of identifying students who receive special services, in delivering of their instruction, and in interacting with parents. These services can include APE, Adaptive Physical Education, assistive technology, mobility, physical therapy, audiological, interpretive services, parent counseling and training, rehabilitation counseling, occupational therapy, blah, 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 blah. Big list of services that go hand in hand with everything we're talking about with the idea here in collaboration. And there are areas in IEPs, I might as well talk about here, that talk about how much, how often, and where services of these natures will be delivered to a student over the course of their day in the IEP. What works? If professionals are respectful of differences, open to learning, and committed to self-examination and change, they can develop culturally responsive and productive relationships with diverse families. This goes hand in hand with the idea of being a reflective teacher. Should always be thinking about your profession, always should be thinking about your interactions with others and how you can personally improve as an educator and a professional in a collaborative environment. The family. Is this another video? No, this is not another video, just a little picture. So when we talk about family, one of the big things about family is there's families of all different cultures. And we should always be very responsive about the different cultures that we work with. So focus on the family as a unit of attention, respect the uniqueness of each family system, give families complete and accurate information in a supportive manner, create alliances with community leaders and allies, and develop a shared vision. We were talking a lot about that actually in the previous class in regards to how there were different communities out there who had a lot of say in what's happening in a local school. And yes, politics are a big part of that. And the school at a local site should be generally supportive of what the community members and leaders and groups want their schools to do. And there should be a lot of talk between administration, teachers, parent groups in regards to creating those shared visions and making sure that families are getting the services that they need and require. Some of the services some families might need or require could include social emotional learning skills for their children. Many of the children we're working with come from trauma, especially today, what with fires, COVID, poverty, classism, racism, blah, 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 all the isms, if you will, that affect students. And, some of these students who come to us are lacking self-management skills, are not self-aware, are not socially aware, very, very inward thinking, not thinking about others, lack of empathy, if you will, lack of responsible decision making, and lack building relationship skills. A lot of kids nowadays are stuck in front of a computer. One of the big things about COVID that I beat the drum about is how we ask students to stare at screens for a year and a quarter, which may have exacerbated the screen addiction time that sped things up for some of these kids and made it difficult for them to have back and forth interactions. So in the classroom, it becomes behooving to us to try to develop these skills so that students can progress in the classroom, and by vis-a-vis progress in the classroom, progress out into schools, and then progress with their families and caregivers, and hopefully become respectful and helpful members of the community. So it's a big undertaking, but we as teachers do have to take into account these particular things. California does have a social emotional guiding principle website that you can take a look here real quick. It talks about the different things in regards to social emotional learning. I'll probably give everybody a chance to do a breakout group and talk about that particular piece. Collaboration expectations with an idea. General education. At least one general education teacher must participate on the IEP team if the student has any general education involvement. This provision makes general education teachers integral to the team of professionals who design and implement special services. I myself work in a classroom where I have students who don't have general education teachers a lot of the time. I do have some kids who do integrated classrooms. And there are parts on the IEP where a parent can sign off saying that they don't want a general education teacher present if they have a student who is in a special education and doesn't have a lot of interaction with the general education. But in general, if you do have a if you are working in a special education setting where you have your students out and about working with general educators, then yes, you should definitely probably have at least one general educator there to talk about a student's progress and what they're seeing inside their own classroom. Collaboration expectations continued. Paraprofessionals, teaching assistants, and other individuals in similar roles should receive appropriate training for their jobs and supervision of their work. Although not all interactions with paraprofessionals may be collaborative, the specific expectation for teacher-paraprofessional interactions can foster collaboration. Now, let's take a quick look at that first sentence again. Paraprofessionals, teaching assistants, and other individuals in similar roles should receive appropriate training for their jobs and supervision. Does that happen all the time? No, it does not happen all the time. In fact, I would say it happens very rarely. I myself, as well as other teachers and other fellow paraprofessionals, often laugh about the lack of training there are for first year, second year teachers and teacher aides and paraprofessionals who come into the profession. There's a lot of, here you go, learn as you go with this particular job. And there's good things to that and there's bad things to that. The good things to that is, hey, if you're quick on your feet and you can learn on the go and you can collaborate and talk with others and create plans and you have a good group of people, then hey, it can work. But when you have any sort of clunks, bumps, problems along the way, it can definitely exacerbate problems inside the classroom. Continuing with collaboration transition, because transition must be addressed for students beginning at age 14, strong collaboration is necessary and should involve students as well as parents. Further transition plans often require the involvement of professionals from other agencies, and so interprofessional collaboration may be required. So, age 14, we're basically talking about freshman year of high school, right? And usually by age 14, students should have some sort of transition plan going on, where you've probably maybe given them a questionnaire about what they want to do when they grow up, or maybe you've given them a career interest inventory, which is a battery of questions that will sort out where a student might be interested in working or what their learning styles are for career-based activities. Or you might just talk with the student and say, hey, what do you want to do when you grow up? Do you want to move out of your house? Do you want to rent a place? Do you want to go to college? Things like that. And once you talk with a kid, maybe you just go, hey, let's make a plan for you, and you type it up using the IEP documentation that there is for a transition plan. There is a transition plan page. And it has clear delineated boxes to say the student will do the following actions, and then it says what you're going to do as the educator to help this student proceed to gather these actions in order to effectively meet the plan. And you might write goals, IEP goals in regards to this, such as maybe a student will go visit a local junior college, or maybe they'll write job applications with a clear resume. That might be an example of a goal you write. So transition plan's a big part of an IEP, especially in high school. Assessment process. Parents' roles in the assessment process have been clarified. Initial patent permission for assessment does not constitute permission for possible special education placement. This process requires ongoing communication between school professionals and parents. Even more communication responsibility occurs when students are reevaluated. Since a decision may be made in some cases to omit standardized testing, parent involvement in decision making is even more critical. So if you have a parent who is interested in assessment and wants to know what their kids are doing, basically what this is saying is that when triennials happen and you have standardized assessment, and sometimes decisions are made where as students diagnosis might change actually because something might have happened over the course of time where school psychologist or therapist or counselor goes, this next try, we might want to test them for this. And then that might happen. And maybe the parent even says, because they have an outside therapist or something saying, hey, you might want to take this, and then talks with the school about it. And the school goes, okay, we'll test that. That's kind of where you're looking at with this particular piece, is that assessment should be an ongoing process. The parent should have a lot of say in regards to how that goes. And there should be collaboration and communication happening between the parent, the teacher, and any other professionals that are important with the assessment process. Least restrictive environment. We talked about this a little bit. The law presumes that students should receive education in a general education setting, and it requires justification for any placement that is not general education. This presumption strongly suggests that classroom teachers and special educators will need to work together on behalf of students. And, I talked a lot about that in previous classes. Money is involved in this. Politics is involved in this. The top place for a student to ever get services is in the general education environment. And if there's ever going to be a removal from the general education environment, there needs to be strong justification to do so. And I would throw out that here, documentation to do so as well. Mediation. Unless declined by parents, states must make no-cost mediation available to parents as a strategy for resolving disagreements concerning their children with special needs. The implication is that a strong bias exists towards all parties working together on behalf of students to design the most appropriate education rather than escalating conflicts. So this is kind of touching base on testy IEPs, if you will. So the state must make no-cost mediation available to parents. So, if a parent is having a problem with their IEP, there could be something like ADR, which is an alternate dispute resolution. I've never had to go through that myself, so I don't know exactly how that looks like myself. Luckily, knock on wood. But we're talking about lawyers and attorneys and, making sure that parents have perhaps a public defender available to them if they need it. Very sticky, schools have attorneys and parents have attorneys. And, when you do have a IEP where attorneys are present, it can be a little hair-raising. The best thing to always do is remain calm and understand that if there's ever a problem, perhaps where you don't know an answer, you might want to just kind of look over at your attorney and they might answer it for you if there's a problem with that. And if you do know that you're going to have a contentious IEP, you should have talks with your administration and your fellow professionals about how to handle things before going in. You do want to be ready for that should it ever happen. So, quick video of some IEP meeting stuff. I've seen this one. It's scripted, and it's a good video. I mean, it shows some of the key parts of a meeting, but it never goes exactly as easy as this video shows. We'll do a quick partner discussion about some of the things we saw in the video, what your thoughts are about an IEP. Have you ever been in an IEP before? What kind of things have, freaked you out? Or what kind of things have you thought went well? Maybe you have a question for me that you might want to ask when I jump in there. So we'll do breakout groups for that one and to have a discussion piece. In the next video, teacher collaboration. What do we know about good collaboration and what does that look like? So we'll have a video showing teacher collaboration, spreading best practice school-wide. I'm not going to show that here. Guiding question 2. What is a behavior support plan and what is a manifestation determination? So, you know, we have a lot of behavior in special education. And it makes sense. A lot of people who are in special education have trauma. And trauma typically leads to maladaptive behavior to fix situations for a student in a way that allows them to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and escape things that they don't want to do. So, classroom management and student behavior, all behavior is an attempt to meet needs. If a student is telling you to F off, it's because the need they want is to be left alone, right? Or if a student is saying, is running away from a situation, they are not happy with a given thing and they want to escape. These are all general basic needs. And in a way, it's natural. If a student has had sort of any neglect or abuse or something awful that's happened to them, it's natural for the human brain and body to do certain things in order to ensure the safety of that individual. And, sometimes the body, the brain, does things that don't really go hand in hand with what is socially acceptable. It's natural, and it is what it is. So, some of the things we're talking about here, candidates will be introduced to ways to identify a student's behavior if a student's behavior is a manifestation of his or her disability, and to develop positive behavior intervention plans by being introduced to BPS plans and examples of positive behavior supports that can be used in the classroom setting. That's what the goal is for this part. Think of all those students that they are talking. I'm sorry, boy, it's getting late. Think of all those students they are talking to you the only way they know how. Take a few minutes and share. The kids who need the most love will ask for it in the most unloving ways. Great little saying, and it's true. Understanding why a kid is challenging is the first and most important part of helping them. Dr. Ross Greene. Oh, yes. Dr. Greene is a very, very famous doctor that's often discussed amongst my counselors over at Sonoma County Office of Education. Restorative practices, positive behavioral intervention supports make the real connections. We have an article here. And I'm going to give people the chance to read that article, Teaching Through Trauma. And there's also a little, no video, but there is the article right here, talking about behavior, trauma, understanding trauma, what kind of things happen to our students, big changes in the classroom environment from trauma, the facts, lots of things in this particular article. But I'm going to give everybody a chance to go and read that in breakout groups. When it comes to behavior, we want to teach students desired behavior, all right? And that takes a long time. You can do that depending on your classroom, as a whole group, or depending on things, you might want to do it on an individual basis. And if a student has a behavior support plan or behavior intervention plan, they have specific behaviors that you're trying to have changed, and there will be plans within that paperwork to help you change behavior into the desired behavior. Some things to also remember is underlying reasons for the behavior. And when we look at behavior intervention plans and support plans, it's typically, is it task avoidance? Is it looking to get peer or staff attention? Those are usually the top things when we talk about behavior in the classroom. Task avoidance, peer or staff attention. Like 9 times out of 10, that's what it's going to be, according to a behaviorist. There's some other things out there on the checkbox, but for me, that's typically what it is. And as I'm sitting here talking, I should take a double check and look at what the other things are on the box for a behavior intervention plan. When we want to change behaviors, we need to observe and record data. Lots of behaviorists want to have data. So they might give you a check sheet saying, hey, every time a student walks out and leaves and goes AWOL, I want you to record the time, the day, how long this particular AWOL went on for, and then what time he re-entered the class. And so you have to have a checkbox and a checklist, and you have to go, well, he left at this time, well, he left at this time, well, he left at this time. And the behaviorist will use all that data to track on how well or how unwell a behavior intervention might be going. The behavior will be defined. You examine the data. Rules for disciplining students with disabilities. There are kind of different rules for disciplining students with disabilities. There's certain things that are kind of static, but for instance, busing. It's a lot harder to have a student with a disability kicked off a bus for misbehavior than a general education student. That's one of the examples I would give. Then it's a lot of shuffling. And then there's positive behavior intervention systems and functional behavior analysis. These are all parts of behavior in regards to that. There's a video about behavior management systems here.
Hi, my name is Paige.
Behavior observation, behavior management activity. So here's an IRIS module, understanding the acting out cycle, talking about that. So let's see here. Anything else on that? Do I like this? Just playing around with this. Oh, begin. Okay. Challenging behaviors, part 1. I don't know how long this is supposed to go, but there's a bunch of stuff there, so might play around with that. No more meltdowns. Wouldn't that be nice, huh?
More effectively with
Collaboration expectations with an idea. Discipline and behavior support systems. For any student with behavior problems, a functional assessment and behavior support plan is required. The process of gathering data, identifying the problem, designing alternative interventions, implementing them, and evaluating the outcomes typically will include participation by several professionals. This is true. Example of a behavior support plan. Oh no. So I need to get a behavior support plan together. All right. So I had note taken. All right. Well, we'll have to find something on that. And then hopefully this is not gone. Okay, good. That's still there. So when we look at a manifestation determination, meaning it's set into motion when the student has a violation of a code of student conduct. Kinda. What it is once you've reached your 10th day of suspension over the course of a school year, a manifestation determination is triggered. That's typically what it is. The purpose of this review is to determine whether or not the child's behavior that led to the disciplinary infraction is linked to his or her disability. Now, let's say you're working with a kid who has an emotional disturbance and he punches another student in the face and he gets suspended for 3 days, right? And let's say that third day causes it to be his 10th time he's been suspended that year. Well, then there's a manifestation determination meeting, and the principal and the teacher and the counselor, specifically the counselor, will state whether or not a student's behavior was boy, I am kind of getting it's getting late. Not so much. So the team gets together, they discuss the incident, and they'll review the IEP, and they'll go, okay, this student has a history of punching people, and it is directly related to the student's disability. Therefore, we can't expel. This student stays where he or she is at. They stay in the classroom. This was a manifestation of this particular disability, and we've had a history of this behavior before, and we have plans in motion that are meant to meet this student's disability needs, and we're going to continue with these particular plans we had in motion, or perhaps because of this 10th suspension, we're going to make changes to the original plan in order to hopefully decrease the behavior that we're seeing. That's typically how things go. Now, let's say a student does something like, bring a gun to school. That seems to be a popular one over here in Santa Rosa right now, right? So let's say a student who has an emotional disturbance brings a gun to school. Well, guess what? You might not say that that's a manifestation of this student's disability then. Or you could, but 9 times out of 10, they're probably going to say no, because they're going to want the student who brings a gun to school expelled. So, yeah, that's kind of the thing we're looking at. In most manifestation determinations that I've been in as a teacher who's been working with students with emotional disturbance, usually it's, yeah, it was a manifestation of the student's disability. He or she stays put. Typically how it goes, but there are certain behaviors that would lead a IEP team to say, no, it was not a manifestation of the disability, and further consequences need to be included, which could include expulsion. Manifestation determinations were first introduced into IDEA within the 1997 amendment. The process was simplified under IDEA, limits the requirements to perform a manifestation determination to removals that constitute a change of placement. That's what I'm talking about under IDEA's disciplinary procedures. Does not require a manifestation determination for removals for less than 10 consecutive days. So 10 days out of the classroom from suspensions. We might not even get to this. This is a lot of stuff for this slide, but positive behavior intervention supports. This is a key piece. Talking about the kind of things you're going to do inside your classroom in order to make a positive classroom environment, more social emotional learning, if you will. And what is PENT? That was the website we just saw. PENT, Positive Environments Network of Trainers, talking about positive behavior interventions and supports to use inside of a classroom, behavior strategies that you could use, yada yada. Okay, an example of behavior support plan. Well, there's no link there. I'm going to have to take a change to that. Homework. Okay, good. Create your comprehensive behavior support for your classroom. Here's an article for that. And an example for that. Oh, well, you got to do that. It's pretty easy. Nothing too crazy with that. Hi. And going back here. Remember to listen. Final project, due session 5. It's not even due. We're going to be talking about it in class. Your resources. I doubt we're even going to get to an exit ticket. There's just so much there. If a student's behavior is a manifestation of his or her disability. It's an interesting one. I kind of talked a little bit about that. We'll see if I even get to that. Oh, and that's it. All right, cool. So I saw some things I need to change in there. I'll have to clean that up. Hope you guys have a good one. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.